Alright everyone, this morning one of my followers on Twitter actually showed me a little bit of an article and I went to it and it's quite interesting, so I decided to report on this. It looks like Facebook is finally, it's more obviously kicking the bucket than it was before. Now it's been racked with problems, like for several years now. They've had difficulty with declining engagement, a slowing of the growth of the site at times, losing individuals. They have a problem where they claim there are more US users, I guess, than the census says there are people in the US, so they're thinking it's overrun with bots. And then they have problems like the alt media, like someone like me is going to hit Facebook for its censorship. I'm going to say Zuckerberg is basically a Generation 2.5 synth. He looks weird, he's got weird ideas, he loves censorship, he's a statist. In my opinion, I have very little respect for him. Meanwhile, at the same time, it is rather amusing that even the mainstream media and some politicians will hammer Facebook, but they do it from a different angle. They say, oh, it's overrun with like Russian bots or something, or you're obviously defrauding your advertisers because, you know, there's no way there's this much engagement. And it looks like that's been corroborated, and I can corroborate it myself. When I look at a site like Facebook, think of it this way. I've had a Facebook group longer than I've had a Minds page. Facebook is like 1,000 times the size of Minds.com as a site, despite the fact that Minds, of course, is way better. It's more stable, it has more actual functionality, so I'm not surprised it's actually still growing as opposed to Zuckerberg's site. But despite that fact, the number of people that follow me on Minds is not substantially less than the number that follow me on Facebook, and with the growth being much quicker there, it won't be that long before more people are following me on an alt-tech site, again, that's considerably smaller, than are following me on Facebook. This is, if alt-tech is growing, here's the proof is in the pudding here. Alt-tech and alt-media and alt-entertainment are all growing. The old guard is dying off, like cable's dying, radio has fewer people who pay attention to it, some of the old digital-only but still technically legacy media sites, we're talking about like maybe 90s and early 2000s era web-only media, they're starting to lose steam as well. We're all still growing in the social media era, and yet even our presence on a site like Facebook is beginning to slow down. So I can only imagine what a bloodbath it must be for the numbers for some of these larger pages. And you can see, like, during the election maybe, or even before, I can remember being on some of these pages, and, you know, you'd have a post, there'd reliably be 1,000 people there before you could comment. Now, you know, there might be a dozen other people. People are using other sites. People who are interested in communicating with one another in a public square and sort of debating things have begun to gravitate especially towards YouTube and Twitter, and also are filtering out across alt-tech if they're more on the liberty-loving or outside of the establishment portion of the public. It's a hell of a lot of people. That's hundreds of millions of people in the world. Even if we're talking about a slim minority of people in the world, or even just the West, we're talking a good 100, 200 million people would end up migrating to alt-tech. That's perfectly viable numbers. Then, of course, you get into video hosting that has its own costs. But Facebook, what exactly does Facebook supply? Here's what Zuckerberg needs to ask his robotic self tonight. What exactly does Facebook give people that these other sites fundamentally don't have? The only positive answer for Facebook is your Messenger app is used quite frequently. It's basically Facebook. I can see a time where it becomes sort of a mobile-only platform of sorts and becomes literally just a message. It'll be kind of like, ironically, an ICQ app or Skype or something. It'll be video calling and texting, basically. That's what I can see in the future. It'll be basically. Instead of just using the cell service itself and using text in a standard way, you've got your internet, you know, your glorious 5G coming network, and you can just use Facebook, you know, in video chat and stuff. Ironically, fulfilling predictions about the future that were made over 100 years ago in like Charlie Chaplin's time. But yes, I don't think Facebook will inevitably survive. I think Facebook will die as a web-based platform and become mobile. I think we're also, another prediction here in the next 10 years, you're going to see sites splitting between those that become more mobile-friendly and those that are more on the standalone side. And of course, because people aren't always on the go, you know, there's huge advantages to a PC or a laptop that phones simply don't have. Gaming, you know, actual gaming, not fucking Farmville or something like that. It's funny. Actual gaming, doing things that require more sort of a heavier processing. Certainly certain work would be required. Like I wouldn't be editing and writing on a phone. I do that on a laptop. It's much more convenient. You could do it on a phone or a tablet, but like fucking why would I want to do that when this is so much more convenient? Video making, in the sense that I do it not on the go video making, you don't need a phone for that. You know, I could prop the phone up on a tripod maybe, but it would be less convenient. I think what you're going to see is because there is an increasing rift, like the missing link sort of notepads and maybe light laptops die off. The heavier, like the gaming side of that, and the PCs on one side are diverging from the smartphones, it seems, on the other in many ways. As that continues to happen, I think websites and services, honestly, will be more and more split between the two. And then there'll be hybrids. Like YouTube would be dumb if they ever tried to side with one over the other. They'll have a hybrid site. They'll have a mobile version of the site. And Facebook tries to do this, but the thing is the standalone, the computer side of Facebook, as, hey, I'm going to update my profile here at my laptop, that's dying. People just use it as a mobile app at this point. Like, I wouldn't use Facebook except for two things. I happen to have a group there that's already got some people that interact with it, although it pales in comparison to every other web presence now that I have. So it's basically, Facebook is something I could jettison without, I wouldn't even care. And number two, I actually know a few people that are on Facebook, and so I talk to them. There's some, you know, if they're using mobile or something, I don't really like smartphone bullshit, but, you know, I can still talk to them here. And so that's the only reason I'm even still on the site. Trust me when I say I don't really care if Facebook goes belly up. It's not, I wouldn't even talk about it. I'd just be like, oh, yeah, Facebook's gone. Haha, it's pretty funny. You know, Zuckerberg just lost, you know, a few $1 billion. Although doesn't he own a bunch of other sites anyway? Isn't Instagram now a Facebook subsidiary or some shit? I think. I don't know. I can't keep track of it. It's funny because a lot of times people don't realize that parent companies bind sites together that appear to actually compete with one another. Like, keep in mind, like Google's not even its own company. It's got its own parent company, Alphabet. Alphabet owns Google, Google owns YouTube. So YouTube's actually a third-tier company, believe it or not. It just happens to be one that's absolutely gargantuan, on which I upload videos routinely. That's about all. Peace out.